everyone. Ashley Mailloux, Scott Shapiro here, taking a look at one of the 5 stakes races this Thursday at Thistledown. It's Best of Ohio Day with the Ohio Breds in the spotlight. First 5 races are $100,000 stakes races. And Scott, we're going to focus in on the opener, which is an interesting race. The main interest being in the 6 furlong event, the number 6, Silent Rule, who's a horse that as a filly, 9 for 9 in her career. She's entered in this spot as well as another race, but it does look like her connections are going to point towards this sprint race and a new article that was just released in the last 24 hours. And obviously, that's a lot of pressure, right? To try to go 10 for 10 now, having to face the boys, but it's not going to be easy for her. There are several horses in here that they have done some pretty big things, especially in Ohio.
It's interesting. This is the opener because I look toward the whole all stakes pick 5 sequence they have. It's the best of the races in terms of handicapping. Maybe that's why our friend David Aragona picked it out. But Silent Rule, as you mentioned, cross-entered in a 2-turn spot. There's a lot of speed in here, actually, as we're going to take a look at. I think she's going to really have to have her work cut out for her to beat the boys.
We will take a look at the pace projection here for the Honey J, and it looks like, as you said, a fast pace is to be projected. The number 1, Ruffin, could be involved, especially with the inside draw. The 5, Diamond Dust. We see Silent Rule close to it. I think there are even other horses on here that they could be pressing the pace in theory as well, even towards the inside and maybe a little bit towards the outside. So I agree with you. The pace is going to be contested, and it's always interesting from a talking point, Scott, if you really think, there's a lot of pace. Doesn't mean that they're going to come back to the rest of the field, but it does, potentially set up for the closers.
It does, and I'm probably forced to thinking of that they're going to come back to the field a little too much, sometimes at the wrong racetracks, but when you hit usually with that theory, it usually is worthwhile if it's a total collapse. And I'm going to play for it just because I think the way, like you said, it lines up, there's definitely going to be some speed. And I think horses that might be kind of between going and not are in positions where they might have to go.
We will meet the field here for the Honey J, kicking it off with the number 1, Ruffin. We'll take a look at the, kind of performance most recently back on June 30th. Second start off the freshening at Thistledown. And this is a horse that was part of the pace in there. Ends up coming up a bit short, but I think the key thing here, Scott, is the winner. Powerful comes back to win next time out, and does it pretty nicely, takes a step forward. And I think this race sort of set up for Powerful, knowing that one likes to close from off of it.
Yeah, and that was an open company race. Remember, dropping, these are stakes races, but they're restricted to just Ohio bred. So you mentioned Powerful, a good-looking winner next out in an open company allowance. The problem for Ruffin is, I'm probably going to say this too often during this preview, is he's on the rail and he has to go. I mean, I don't see really any other chance for him to be in with a chance here. So expect Yanavilas to be very aggressive with the Son of Competitive Edge.
The number 2, Stage Name, up next. Been interesting to see this 5-year-old. We didn't see him between October and June. We haven't seen him since June. But going back to the race, June 6th at Belterra Park, he tried to close from off of it, and he actually did close quite well. He faced Empire's Fire in there, Skimper. He's 4th best, beaten by a length and 3/4. But kind of looking at the pace diagram, he's going to be towards the back of the pack. He loves Thistle, and maybe he gets the right setup, Scott.
Yeah, and he had the LP Chicklet as well to hopefully give him that late little extra punch here when they turn for home. You mentioned that last effort. It was off the layoff. Didn't get out of the gate well. I'm not expecting that to change, but back to Thistle, back to his hometown. It looks like trainer Tim Ham at hometown. I don't know, but his favorite track is what I should say. He's never been off the board in 8 starts, but he's going to have every chance in here. The way the race shape looks, he's got an inside post, so hopefully he's ready to go second start of the year.
And will look to defend his title in this race as he won it in 2024. The number 3, Boots Malone, for Bob Gorham, was 4th last time out. And you can see pretty much stakes races down the page. There's been some non-winners of 3 Life, but once he blew through that condition, it's been stakes since then. And he shows up. He's a little interesting. I don't know what the tactics will be. He could be forward. I would have to think, though, with the other speed in here, he might be pressing the situation early.
It's going to go one of 2 ways for Boots Malone. I think his speed is likely to be a little bit dull coming out of those 2-turn races and with all the other serious speed in here. So even if they want to go, yeah, he's been off a little of a freshening. I just don't know if he's fast enough. So maybe he'll just fall into the right trip and prove that he can handle that. But if you look back at all of his best races, there's sprint races where he was on the lead. So lots of questions. Tote board would kind of decide how I look at this one.
The number 4, Empire's Fire. We'll take a look at the most recent performance at Belterra Park in the middle of July. This is an allowance race against the Ohio breds, but it was a good performance. He did not break on top. I know he kind of makes a move in the race to go towards the lead, Scott, but he has to work for it here in the final stages. And I think for him, he's a horse that's very capable of 80 to 90 buyer speed figures, but it was nice to see him work for it. Not his easiest of wins.
No, he is definitely one of the ones to beat, if not the clear one to beat. 15 for 25 in his career, and he has the right running style. Now, it is a little interesting. He seems to not be quite getting out of the gate as well as he used to as a 6-year-old. Whether that matters here with the race shape remains to be seen, but always something I notice, horses maybe when they don't break as well, don't show as much speed. It's not the greatest of signs, but there's a lot to like about him.
The 5, Diamond Dust, his past performances might fool you a little bit in terms of recency. It looks like he's more of a synthetic specialist. It's not the case. Half of his wins have been on the dirt. We've seen him at Thistle. He's had success. I'm just a little kind of curious about his performances there. Last year, he was third in the Honey J. He was sort of even, and I feel like that's my concern with Diamond Dust is he has the ability to be forward and get the right race and to run his race, but sometimes it's just not good enough.
Yeah, he's going to be. It'll be interesting to see again. All these horses do their best running on or near the lead. His races at Thistledown, when he made the lead in an allowance race or battled for it, he tired. And then the Honey J last year, he was run down by Stage Name. I think he's just another horse that's between speeds, is going to be up against it to work out a trip.
The number 6, Silent Rule. We mentioned the undefeated filly tackling the boys here. She's 9 for 9 lifetime, just under $300,000 in purse earnings. And we haven't seen her since June, but a couple of things. I mean, we saw her in the pace projection, Scott. She's going to be forward. Does she need the lead to win? I don't think so. And you just look at some of her best efforts. It's just been impressive, the figures that she's getting and how easy she's winning those races.
Without question. Now her fastest figures are over the off track, but when you're 9 for 9, it's hard to knock what she's been doing. And the effort 2 back was her one try going 2 turns, albeit it wasn't against the boys. But she handled stalking off the pace. She was 1 to 9. This is a tougher field. We'll see if she's able to kind of relax again. I mean, I'm beating the same drum, but is she a filly that can stalk off the pace or settle and win when the fit pace is fast? We'll see. That last race was 25 and 1, 50 and 4, so it'll be different.
The number 7, Skimper, up next. This one for Richard Zielinski, was 7th last time out. Didn't really fire, but a horse that you go down the page has a handful of races in recent times that maybe put this one in the mix, but I still think a step below the others, knowing that Ruffin finished 2nd in the last out, and then Empire's Fire won the race 2 back.
Going to be forced to kind of fall into that trip, and whether she wants it or not, because she's just not fast enough to go. You see her best races at 2 turns, or her best race was a win on July 18th over the surface last year against Open Company, and she was just kind of a length off a slow pace. So Scrimper going to probably be mid-pack, whether she likes it or not. She does like it here over this surface, but another one that appears up against it, especially on the win end.
Trainer Tim Ham has the 2, Stage Name, also sends out the 8, Excitement. It was a pretty impressive winner last time out to get the 2nd win in 2025. And in terms of trip, I think you wouldn't have to convince me too hard that this is a horse that could get the perfect setup.
I do think that might be the case as well. You have to wonder, Tim Ham maybe thought using this horse originally to set up his other horse, or maybe not. At this point, he has no reason to do that. I think his other horse, on paper at least, is going to get set up well enough. And this horse could just kind of fall into that 2-3 wide trip where you kind of make that early middle move and nobody's good enough to catch you. I could see Excitement running well in here. And 7 wins in the career, all of them at Thistledown, and only half the career starts.
And last time out, a career best buyer speed figure of a 79. We'll round it out here with the number 9. It's Official for Lorenzo Juarez. Has been hitting at the minors in those last couple, was able to pick up a win back in March at Mahoning Valley. And since then, like I said, minors, but some of those races typically at a mile. And last time out, I think ran well at the 6 furlong distance, but very curious to see kind of the tactics from this one and just sort of, can he hold himself against this level of competition?
Yeah, he's been available to be purchased for $25K of late. Comes back off the freshening. Is again a horse that's been prominent, but from the outside post against classier foes, I don't see any way this horse comes close to the lead. So Could be a tough task for this horse, who is definitely even more up against it now because of the post. After even the past performances, he looks a
Mhm.
little up against it.
That's the field for the 6 furlong Honey J, the first of 5 stakes races on the program this Thursday at Thistledown. They have a very, very good card with those Ohio breds in the spotlight. And we'll move to our top picks here for this event. And assuming Silent Rule stays here, Scott, and doesn't tackle, the 2-turn race against the girls, I like her in here. I don't think she needs the lead to win. But when you kind of talked about her, I know you have reservations and you go in a different direction here. The number 2 Stage Name, who figures to close from off of it.
Yeah, maybe I'm being hard on her because she does kind of draw outside the other main speeds, so that could work out to you to the kind of trip we were talking about with Excitement. She obviously has a nose for the wire. I think Stage Name is going to be the one that makes the last run in here. If he's as good as he was last year or anywhere close to it, today's the day he's going to show it. Hopefully, it's a big late run again to get his 6th win at Thistledown.
Well, Scott and I use the 2, 4, and 8 in some capacity. 2, 4, 8, 7 for Scott. 6, 4, 2, 8 for me. It's the Honey J this Thursday at Thistledown. Good luck.